Well, this video was a long time coming. We're finally here after what seemed like forever since finishing Fies. Speaking of which, Fies was well received in Japan, even being voted as a fan favorite in several polls, and personally, it's one of my favorites too, despite the huge flaws it had. One might feel like there's a stalemate in quality, and honestly, I had that in the back of my mind while watching. I like to bring up that Ryuki had a writer war. Anything after that seemed like a step down in terms of plot. Then again, I love Fies, so not everything has to have a larger-than-life story. Enough stalling, you guys have been waiting long enough. We start with a navy blue Kamen Rider on their bike, whose user is named Kenzaki Kazuma, and an indigo Kamen Rider, Tachibana Sakuya, fighting a monster called an undead. A stranger watches as Kenzaki crashes through a cave to help Tachibana. Cue theme song. So, I do like the theme, honestly, I really do. I just can't put my finger on why. The whole energetic yet blue feeling matches the show perfectly, and the visuals are good. The actual song itself, I don't know, I just like it. Also, quick mention, since I know people want me to bring it up, there's an English cover of this theme that I'll link in the description. It's quite frankly one of the best English rewrites I've ever heard, no joke. Moving on, Tachibana captures the undead within a card. The stranger steps out. He's Shirai Kotaro, a non-fiction writer. Apparently he's been investigating Kamen Riders and their recent fight against these unknown creatures. Kenzaki gets annoyed and rides off into a building owned by Board. The Board overseeing anthropological research and development. Kinda weird having a word in your acronym as part of it. The chief of the organization, Karasuma, basically tells a viewer that more undead have been appearing, so the Kamen Riders have been working on sealing them away, much to Tachibana's digression to fight alone. Kenzaki goes back to his apartment after being away for 2 months, but it's been rented out to someone else now. Kotaro offers his place to Kenzaki, and since Kenzaki has nowhere else to go, he reluctantly agrees. In exchange, Kotaro wants an interview with him. Also, his fridge is filled with milk bottles. Milky boy. A man walks into Cafe Hakuranda and overhears that Kotaro is housing a Kamen Rider. His sister is Haruka. She works here with a younger daughter, Amane. The man, Hajime, is rooming at the cafe and has a vision about Kamen Riders. That night, Kenzaki has a nightmare about his parents in the fire. He's awakened by a call. Board is under attack. He rushes to the building, but is too late. The only person alive is Hirose, the official from earlier. She says that an undead is being controlled by Tachibana, although Kenzaki doesn't believe that he would betray them. An undead steps out, and Kenzaki goes into action as Kamen Rider Blade. I like the simplicity of this belt. All you have to do is insert the transformation card, pull the tab, and run. I used to dislike the belt sound, but it grew on me, just like the suit. The blue and silver color scheme is alright, and I like how the torso is similar to a knight's or a beetle's armor. What I don't like is the helmet. Motif or not, the elongated horn looks incredibly out of place in a flattened suit. The details on the face aren't sticking to me either. I would have preferred less detail for once, although everything else is fine. I can also say similar things about Garen, except I prefer its colors and helmet more. Kenzaki continues to fight the undead when he notices Tachibana by the corner, standing there. Oh look, it's that meme. Tachibana's Some people might not notice the phonetics or accents that come from a different language if you're not used to it. If you are able to notice, then you'd know that Kenzaki's actor has a slight slur in his speech, which can only lead to him becoming a big meme in Japan. When Kenzaki says, "Did you really betray us?" the first word in the Japanese sentence is supposed to be honto, but the actor's slur makes it come out as ondur. Also, I apologize for pronunciations ahead of time. I'm not Japanese, and I know a lot of people like to point that out. Thank you. This meme has been referenced in other media and even in a future season of Kamen Rider. I bring this up because, to put it bluntly, Blade is known for its abundance of memes. I didn't mean to have an entire paragraph about it, but what's she gonna do when this isn't the last meme from this season? After sealing away the undead, Hirose shows Kenzaki footage of what looks to be Tachibana kidnapping Chief Karasuma. Kenzaki is left confused, not knowing what goes on in Board, let alone Tachibana. A few days pass. Hirose stays with Kotaro and Kenzaki, bringing whatever she could scavenge from the former Board building. Hirose's computer has an undead tracker that can pinpoint the location of an undead if they're on the loose by their signal. To cheer Kenzaki up, she slaps him and tells him to start acting like a Kamen Rider. Hajime senses the undead as well, similar to having a spider sense. He rides off and transforms into Kamen Rider Chalice. or callous, as they like to say in the show. But again, I'm not Japanese, and I'm pretty sure the intention was to be chalice. His suit is okay, although the designs on the side of the legs may be a bit too much. I love the gold and black color scheme with the red accents. The heart motif is nice, and the shoulders don't seem too bulky, with everything else complementing the thick design. Hajime stopped the undead from attacking Amane, but gets hurt, where we see him drip green blood. Kenzaki, Kotaro, and Haruka have been searching for Amane when they come across Hajime with her. Kenzaki is told that Hajime appeared 6 months ago after Haruka's husband, Kurihara, passed away. Amane says Hajime is family, although Hajime wonders what a family is. He also has a flashback of standing over a dying stranger in the snow. It was Amane's dad. A hologram of Chief Karasuma appears in front of Hirose. She tries to get through to him, but there's a password that stops her from analyzing the hologram. The real Karasuma is laying unconscious in a room with Tachibana. It takes Hirose all night to obtain the password. When she finds out, we see that Karasuma left a message. The undead arrived 10,000 years ago. There are 53 types that fought in a war. They were later sealed away into cards. 3 years ago, the seals came undone because of an accident that the chief blames himself for. In 3 episodes, you can tell that Blade's story is slowly moving forward as we get more pieces of a larger mystery. Right now, Kenzaki and friends have to deal with finding Karasuma, confronting Tachibana, and of course, fighting the undead. It almost seems like Blade is trying to purposefully be a contrast to Fai's. Most people would tell you that a lot of Fai's story problems could have been fixed if characters just talked to each other. After seeing Karasuma's hologram, Hirose thinks that Tachibana has something to do with the unsealing of the undead, so Kenzaki goes to talk to him about it. Tachibana didn't just stand there mugging at the camera for memes, he actually gave Kenzaki answers, seeing that Karasuma was the one who unsealed them, and that the rider systems aren't perfect, especially his Garen buckle since it might be breaking down his body. Kenzaki's blade buckle is newer, so it might not have the same issue. See, questions and answers, along with things we didn't know in the first place. Not questions and no one talks to anyone about them. We'll keep seeing people being, actual people and talking to each other about conflicts that come up. Hirose investigates an old board lab and finds Tachibana. He shows her that he's keeping an unmoving Karasuma. Tachibana explains that he hated the chief but would do his cleanup work as a writer anyway. A few undead insects were thought to be killed, but some went loose and attacked the board facility from the first episode. Hirose brings up the footage of him kidnapping the chief. Tachibana says that he was actually helping him escape. Then Tachibana asks if Hirose's dad had anything to do with the undead, since he used to work for Board. She knows her dad wanted to save her sick mother, so he may have been researching the undead in order to find a way to save her. While Kenzaki is fighting an undead, Hirose and Kotaro try to rescue Karasuma's body, but it bursts into flames. Tachibana notices that the ashes were a trick from a hologram. Who knows where the chief's body is now? Oh look, it's the meme of Tachibana shooting Kenzaki. A few run-ins with Hajime later, Kenzaki confronts him about being Kamen Rider Chalice. Hajime plays ignorance, so Kenzaki threatens to tell Amane. Oh look, it's the meme of Hajime overacting. Tachibana has been feeling his body breaking down, so he's been going to his girlfriend's office. She's a nurse named Sayoko. They have a pretty cute relationship, although Tachibana seems a bit distant. One night, Karasuma finds Sayoko to leave a message for Tachibana. The rider system is not defective. However, it amplifies weaknesses, which for Tachibana is fear. Hirose receives a text from Karasuma telling her that danger is coming. A group of men surround her, Kotaro, and Kenzaki. Tachibana is being followed by a man that has supernatural powers. This guy in the shades is named Isaka. He's been telepathically communicating with Hajime, taunting him about trying to incorporate himself with humans. Hajime goes with him. Kenzaki has been captured and is being experimented on. Isaka brings up something called the fusion ratio. It apparently has something to do with the rider systems. Tachibana is more concerned with finding Karasuma than saving Kenzaki, so Hirose calls him a coward. Kotaro encourages Tachibana, saying how it's okay to be scared. It's difficult to like someone who has no worries. Kenzaki is forced to fight an undead for Isaka's research. Kenzaki notices Hajime watching him through a window, causing his fusion rate to rise. Hajime says that Kenzaki is angered, so he's turning that energy into fighting strength. Hajime somehow gets enraged too and rushes into the fight. Isaka recognizes that Hajime, Kenzaki, and the undead are fighting similar to something that happened 10,000 years ago, the battle fight. Tachibana arrives to save Kenzaki, but some scientists notice that Tachibana's fusion rate is dropping due to his fear. Oh look, it's the meme of Tachibana's weird yelling. Chief Karasuma sneaks into the facility that the riders are in and cuts the power, allowing them to escape. Karasuma begins to explain that Isaka was trying to create a new rider system. It all started with Board's research. 10,000 years ago, 53 undead had a battle royale to decide the fate of the Earth. The human undead won, leaving the other entrants sealed within cards. Board researched these cards, then Hirose's father revived them, though he may not be solely to blame. Now the undead have their own modern-day battle fight, so Karasuma created the rider systems to fight against them. Side note, the undead's battle royale is called Battle Fight. It's just the title of it. I got confused and thought it was called Battle Royale for the longest time. Karasuma then reveals that Isaka is an undead himself. Hirose's undead tracker showed 3 blips. One was Isaka, another was the random undead, so the third must have been Hajime. They drive past each other and transform without saying a word. It's a powerful scene. Kenzaki gets a call about an undead attacking nearby, so their fight will have to continue another day. Back at home, Kotaro is naturally upset that Hajime has been living at Haruka's cafe. Hajime may be an undead, but he still saved Amane a couple of times. Kenzaki felt like Hajime's only instinct is to fight. Kotaro says that maybe it's destiny for Kenzaki and Hajime to fight. Tachibana wakes up in an unfamiliar place. He hears a voice saying that his fear has been treated. An undead attacks and Tachibana is fully capable of fighting with no problem. Tachibana regroups with Kenzaki and friends. Everyone noticed that he's changed. But how? Tachibana goes out to celebrate with Sayako. She's a bit concerned and notices a plant on his neck. Isaka kidnapped Tachibana a while ago and placed him in a tub filled with plants. Sayako looked more into it. It's called a Schuldt-Kessner seaweed. It intensifies the nervous system and was used during the ancient battle fight for warriors to increase their strength. Isaka then detects the spider undead. This one is a category ace, and it could be used to create the new rider system. The spider undead stands on a building, unleashing spiders across the city. A group of people play basketball. One of them, named Mutsuki, notices the spiders passing by. The spider undead is interested in Mutsuki, calling him Leangle. Hajime, Tachibana, and Kenzaki all detect the undead. While riding towards the spider, Tachibana is stopped by Hajime. Each rider wants to seal the category ace for themselves. By the end of their fight, Hajime is kicked off a long bridge. He lays on the ground, thinking of Amane. Hajime wakes up in a cabin where Kenzaki is cooking food. Despite Kotaro's warning, Kenzaki decided to help out Hajime. As a bit of a repayment, Hajime relays info that Isaka is currently looking for candidates for the new rider system. Saiko is looking for Tachibana. The last time they talked, Tachibana said that he wants to continue using the seaweed and would rather live life without her. Saiko stops by the side of a road and is attacked by Isaka. Meanwhile, Tachibana manages to seal the spider undead. The card says change on it, just like blades, garrons, and chalices. Isaka asks for the card, but it seems like the seaweed's effect has worn off, and Tachibana isn't under its control. However, since the plant strengthened him, Tachibana is now too weak to fight, so he drops the card. Tachibana finds Saiko's car, empty, and her body is nearby. She says her last words and goes lifeless. Now filled with the lust for revenge, Tachibana loses his fear and takes up arms with the fight against the undead. In a basement, Chief Karasuma looks over the candidates that Isaka has taken. Karasuma holds a henshin device and says that Mutsuki has the highest compatibility. The device is activated but hurts Mutsuki. Mutsuki and the other candidates get dropped off in a tunnel with their memories wiped. Mutsuki seems really worried about something. He enters Haruka's cafe looking for a girl. Apparently he just missed his date, who he unknowingly stood up. Kenzaki and Tachibana get an undead signal, the one tracking Isaka. Tachibana fights him alone. With his passion for Sayako, Tachibana manages to seal Isaka, creating the fusion card. Kenzaki saves Karasuma, who was under Isaka's control, and everyone regroups at Kotaro's. Karasuma created the new belt, called the Leangle buckle, and retrieved the category Aces card. But not just anyone can use them properly. Kotaro seems to be mesmerized by the card. Later that night, Kotaro starts to sleepwalk and grabs the belt. He activates it as Kenzaki rushes up to stop him. The belt has a projection like the others, so Kenzaki gets hurt by it. Then the belt disappears. The next day, Karasuma says goodbye since he's gonna go out and search for a stone that Board has researched. It may have answers to sealing all the undead. In a flashback, Saiko has a sweet moment with Tachibana. In the present, Tachibana notices a couple having an argument. It's Mutsuki trying to explain to his girlfriend, Nozomi, why he couldn't make it to their date. but she doesn't exactly believe him. Mutsuki finds a Leangle buckle in the bushes. He's mesmerized by it too. Hajime and Kenzaki fight an undead, though Hajime fights without caring that civilians are nearby. Kenzaki gets in an argument with him, then the sky gets dark. A new rider is seen in the distance. Hajime seems to be extremely wary, but he can barely get a word out as he's attacked. This is Kamen Rider Leangle. He has a special card that can release already sealed undead. More on him in a bit. Leangle has a headache and rides off alone, revealing to us that its user is Mutsuki, though he doesn't remember what just happened. Tachibana noticed Mutsuki pick up the belt earlier, so he did some investigating, and confirms that its owner is Mutsuki, a high schooler. After a basketball game, Nozomi congratulates him for getting way better. Mutsuki is very meek and apologizes to his team for playing the way he did. I like him so far, he's such a dork. Kenzaki runs into Mutsuki and they have lunch together. At this point, Kenzaki only recognizes his face but doesn't know Mutsuki's name, because Kenzaki actually saved him from an undead in an earlier episode. Mutsuki wants to become a writer to stop unpleasant dreams he's having, and start living life with everyone else. An undead attacks, so Kenzaki goes to fight it. Mutsuki wants to help too, then he transforms, but doing so lets the spider undead take control of Leangle. This is my favorite rider suit of the season. I love the elegant and regal design. My favorite color is also green, so I might have a bit of a bias. Leangle gets another headache, reverts to Mutsuki, and again, doesn't remember anything. Kenzaki introduces him to his friends. Hirose explains that Mutsuki is now connected to the will of Leangle, so he won't be able to remember much after transforming. He still wants to be a writer, but Kenzaki tells him to live a normal life instead. To put it simply, Mutsuki does not go back to a normal life and becomes another obstacle for the writers, including Hajime because Leangle said some mean words to him. Mutsuki does get a good amount of focus for a while. He trains with Tachibana to become a stronger person, and we find out that he's afraid of the dark, because when Mutsuki was a baby, he was trapped in a locker. It's only brought up twice, but man, that's unsettling. Mutsuki also doesn't have much faith in himself. He brings up how every rider has a reason to fight. Kenzaki wanted to save his parents from a fire, but he couldn't. Hajime is fighting for his own survival as an undead. Tachibana wants to avenge his dead girlfriend. Hey, what? But a bit later, Tachibana gets trapped under rubble while saving civilians. Mutsuki goes to save him and finds a motive to fight. People thanked him with a smile. Hajime gets a job as a photographer for Ozawa from Agito? Huh. Her name is actually Kamioka, and she took over Kurihara's job after he passed away. Kamioka asks to see Hajime's pictures. He shuffles through his papers and accidentally drops a photo of Amane's dad. She picks it up, knowing that it used to belong to Kurihara. Before she can say anything else, she gets attacked by Karu from Garo? Huh. This is actually Miyuki. She was around for a little while and even dated Kotaro for a bit. I also didn't bring her up cause she gets sealed a few episodes later. Then the Eagle Undead interferes, reminding Hajime of a promise they made 10,000 years ago. The Eagle Undead grabs Hajime's card, saying that the real chalice is sealed within it. If that's the case, then who is Hajime? With his belt, Hajime can transform into other undead. Kenzaki fights by Hajime's side and retrieves the change card. The undead is then defeated and realizes the real chalice had a different belt. Hajime has the chalice rouser, while undead have the Ouroboros buckle. The promise that the Eagle Undead made with Chalice thousands of years ago was that they would be the last undead standing. It was supposed to be destiny, just like humans versus undead. He gets sealed by Kenzaki, and Hajime uses the Spirit card, a card that Kenzaki doesn't recognize. A while later, Kenzaki and Tachibana fight the Elephant Undead. He's been a threat to the riders as he's very powerful. With a single swing, he can smash Kenzaki's helmet, so they're forced to escape every encounter with him. By the way, if there's no helmetless scenes, then at least smashed helmets are just as awesome. A stranger walks into Kotaro's house. He knows everyone in the household and shows them a picture of himself with Karasuma. This man is Shima Noboru, an associate of the chief. Shima is here because Karasuma was able to find something through his research. Shima seems like a nice guy, until he reveals himself to be a high-level undead. It turns out that he really is an associate of Karasuma, but like everyone else, Shima wants the battle to end. It's back to fighting the Elephant Undead. Kenzaki protects a nearby girl, and realizes that he must fight not for obligation, but to protect people. Yeah, Kenzaki had a weird arc here about figuring out why he fights, even though it was straight out told to us extremely early on that he already had a motive. Okay, anyway. Shima's happy that Kenzaki found his answer and throws a brand new toy to him. With the Rouse Absorber, Kenzaki goes into Jack form.
Absorb Queen, Fusion Jack.
I like the little cape wings that the suit has, but what throws me off is the gold on the armor. There are way too many colors clashing. It makes the suit look like a rough draft, though I actually do somewhat like it, especially the sound it makes. Maybe if there was gold on the legs, I'd prefer it more. Either way, Kenzaki is able to seal the elephant's undead for good. At home, Shima explains that Karasuma was able to create the Rouse Absorber through his research abroad. Shima just wanted to make sure that Kenzaki truly wanted to fight for the right thing, and he assures Tachibana that one is being created for him too. But there's nothing for Mutsuki. However, with Shima around, the spider undead wishes to fight him and is gaining more control over Mutsuki. The only way that Category Ace can be stopped is if Shima sacrifices himself to be sealed, and hopefully do something from the inside. Kenzaki tries to stop their fight, but it's too late as Leangle seals him away. So now we're reaching episode 31, the 53rd bean. But let's discuss a few things before moving on. First, I gotta get this out of the way. The theme changes here from Round 0 Blade Brave to Elements. I love Elements. The energy, the build-up, the way it won't leave my head. Yeah, I kinda prefer this over Round 0. I said before that I like the first theme. Honestly, I really do. I just think Elements fits and sounds better for this season. As always, music is subjective, so this is my personal opinion. Though if there's one thing I like better in Round 0 Blade Brave, it's the visuals. I like the artsy background that makes no sense in that one. There are way more people who like the first theme, and it's okay if you do. It's just my silly opinion. So why does the theme change here? Anime themes typically change when there's a new arc or season. Sometimes a song change can mean that there's a new production staff, like we'll see in another season. While I don't have an exact answer, I can make an educated guess and say that it's a little of everything that I said. Blade had an extremely rough start. Ratings and sales were really low. The season wasn't catching the attention of viewers. Characters were seen as bland, so their most defining traits were the memes spawned from them. Hearing this might be hurting fans of Blade, but even today a lot of viewers think that the season's first half is not the best. When it comes to History of Kamen Rider, it's basically a retrospective review with, the actual history behind a season of Kamen Rider. Despite these videos typically getting to more than an hour long, I still don't talk about every detail, and rather give the bigger events between point A and point B. A lot happened specifically with Hajime. There was character development where he was learning to become a human, but a fight with an undead made him lose a friend he made. Tachibana had a lot of inner turmoil to fight his fear or be a Sayako. They're good things to look forward to if you ever decide to watch the season I talk about. And I'd also be here for literal hours if I brought up every detail. But if you don't watch the season, then you at least get the gist of it within an hour instead of watching 50 episodes, while missing out on deeper details and moments. I bring this up because as of writing this in my Word document, I would be only about a third or fourth from the finale of any other season. But we're more than halfway through Blade. To the producers, things had to change, and for the better. There was a different writer for a few earlier episodes, but then he became permanent from this point on. And luckily, well, you'll see. Oh yeah, and Tachibana got Jack form out of nowhere in episode 30. It just sort of happened, so yeah, I'm glad things got changed from this point on. Back to episode 31. A man in a suit walks to a large containment unit. Inside is a monster similar to the undead. The man shows it a picture of Kenzaki. Mutsuki has gone missing, a category king undead has appeared, and the monster we saw earlier can't be sealed. Things have gotten pretty bad pretty fast, but that's not all. Mutsuki has taken over a club. Mutsuki tells Tachibana about the rules of a card game called Sevens. The Joker card can be played anywhere, just like the Joker undead. Certain undead didn't want to fight Hajime. Shima knew Hajime was hiding something. Now we know. Hajime is really the Joker undead. Tachibana tells the others about Hajime's identity as Joker. He's been using cards to transform into undead. such as the mantis undead called Chalice, and a human that's been sealed in the spirit card. Meanwhile, the category king taunts Hajime to force him to transform. King even wants to involve Amane. This enrages Hajime, causing him to show his true form. Tachibana meets the man in the suit from earlier. He's Yoshito, Hirose's father. Yoshito locked himself away to study more on the immortality of humans. He's been experimenting on man-made undeads, the ones that Kenzaki couldn't seal, called trial undeads. Kenzaki finds an injured Hajime. Hoping to get through to him, Kenzaki says a juvenile secret. Hajime hesitantly begins to explain. The human inside the spirit card is the victor of the battle fight from 10,000 years ago, the human undead. A few years ago, the undead were unsealed. Hajime captured undead after undead, then he came across the human undead, who gave himself to Hajime with no restraint. It's the form that Hajime takes to blend in with others. Hajime no longer wanted to become Joker, so he disguised himself as a human with the spirit card. If Joker wins the battle fight, then all life will be destroyed. The trial undead continue on their pursuit for Kenzaki. They're almost terrifying in the way they stop at nothing to chase after him. Kenzaki doesn't want to put his friends in any danger, so he wants to search for the undead alone. Hirose slaps him. Kenzaki has been fighting for those that can't, which makes him a true Kamen Rider. She also has good news. The category king has been found. Kenzaki transforms in a crowd of people and is ultimately able to defeat King. The trial undead arrives just in time for Kenzaki to use his new category king card to transform into king form, a fusion of 13 undead.
Evolution King.
I thought Leangle suit was regal, but king form is literally about royalty, and it looks the part. It does the gold aesthetic better than Jack form, and it does look very powerful. My favorite piece is the helmet that forms a crown. That's cute. However, using king form has consequences. Hajime senses it and wants Kenzaki to stop. Using the form makes Kenzaki pass out. King form is the exact reason why Yoshito wants to stop Kenzaki. It's too powerful and dangerous. Back at home, Hirose gets an email from Karasuma. The Rouse absorbers can only handle so much. It shouldn't be possible to combine 13 undead to create the new form. It gives Kenzaki an idea. If he can transform with their combined power, then so can Hajime. Tachibana and Kenzaki nearly pass each other on the road. Kenzaki needs a category king card for Hajime, though Tachibana already has it. He'll give the card to him on one condition. We see that Hajime is having trouble controlling himself. He attacks Kenzaki at the first sight of him. A trial undead appears and Kenzaki throws the cards to Hajime. He picks them up and transforms into Chalice Wild. Now that's a super form. Those colors, that armor, that helmet, oh, I love it so much. Hajime defeats the trial undead. Hajime transforms back into a human and smiles. Tachibana introduces Kenzaki to Yoshito. Naturally, Kenzaki gets angered meeting with the man who unsealed the undead, the man who left his only daughter behind to do more research. Yoshito tells Kenzaki that the rider system are able to fuse with other undead, much like Joker. It's how they work to become Kamen Riders. However, Kenzaki's fusion rating is higher than anyone else's, so if he continues to transform, then he might become a Joker too. Yoshito, alone in an unknown place, notices that his body is transforming. Another man tells him that he's become the Trial B undead. It turns out that the real Yoshito died and was remade into the Trial undead. Mutsuki walks into Kotaro's house. He's come to talk to Hirose about her father. This is the first she's heard of her dad being around. Mutsuki takes her to see him. She gets upset, saying that her mother wouldn't be happy seeing him like this. While fighting the riders, Yoshito shows his true trial undead form. Hirose runs to them. She looked up all she could and found out that the Trial B stole her dad's memories. Hirose is about to get attacked, then Yoshito takes the hit. He falls to the ground remembering that the real Yoshito's last wish was for the Trial B to protect Hirose. She begins to cry over the Trial B's body. We find out that the man who has overseen the Trial Undead is Tennoji Hiroshi, board's chairman. In a flashback to the battle fight from 10,000 years ago, the Tiger Undead is one of the few remaining combatants. A monolith turns the other undead into cards. Tennoji has been keeping the monolith, called the Sealing Stone. The Tiger Undead has been hanging around with Mutsuki. She only cares for the battle fight, even if other undead are fighting for themselves at this point. Mutsuki goes on a rampage. Tiger tells him some words about wanting to fight beyond a reason for the Sealing Stone or battle fight. They both transform, with Mutsuki stabbing through her body. She reaches over for a blank card and seals herself for him. Tiger turns into a card, leaving behind Tachibana's Rouse Absorber. Mutsuki attempts to use it, causing the spider undead to separate from him. Mutsuki has a vision of Shima and Tiger cheering him on. With the power of friendship and a really giant sword, Mutsuki finally seals the spider undead. Tachibana then explains that Tiger asked to borrow his Rouse Absorber so she can purposefully be sealed for Mutsuki's sake. Mutsuki begins to cry, no longer under the undead's influence. In the next episode, Kenzaki and friends grill out for a celebration. Hajime and Amane are here too. There are only 3 undead left, and Joker. Then they seal 2 more undead. Okay, it wasn't that easy, and it was actually 1 undead combined as 2, but you get the idea. Then Tennoji combines with an undead. His real head pokes out of the undead's chest. Ew. Then it's time for the 4 riders to defeat him. Okay, things don't actually happen this fast. Sort of. They happen almost one episode after another, but it's pretty awesome seeing all this lead up to the endgame, especially with all 4 riders transforming at the same time. A category king undead appears. Tennoji begs King to help him, but is killed off. The only undeads left are the category king and Hajime. An undead's natural instinct is to fight, so the 2 go at it. Hajime is about to be sealed, but Kenzaki runs in front of the blank card. Hajime stumbles out, running into Mutsuki. Tachibana tells Mutsuki to unseal the human undead, so it'll be the last one in the battle fight. Though Mutsuki doesn't want to. Hajime has become his own person. Tachibana knocks Mutsuki out, then aims his gun towards Hajime. Amane calls Hajime worryingly. He makes his conversation happy and peaceful, promising to buy her a gift when he comes back. Tachibana can't bring himself to end Hajime, so he goes to fight King instead. Their fight scales to the point where Tachibana's helmet gets smashed. King's Ouroboros buckle opens. Tachibana attempts to seal him. Tachibana grabs onto King and jumps off the cliff with him. Hirose notices that both their signals are gone. The only thing Kenzaki finds is Tachibana's card. The sealing stone appears in front of Hajime, releasing a horde of undead. Episode 48. Prologue to Destruction. These undead, called Dark Roaches, have begun to take over. Since the Joker undead is the last one standing, he's bringing the destruction of the world. Kenzaki and Mutsuki keep fighting, but more Dark Roaches keep coming out of the stone. Kenzaki holds onto Tachibana's destroyed belt. They sealed all 52 undead and protected Hajime, but at what cost? Kenzaki tells Mutsuki to release the undead so the battle will restart. Mutsuki tries, but nothing happens. The battle fight was over the moment the category king was sealed. Kenzaki looks at his bloodied hand and knows what to do. Mutsuki tries to fight Hajime, but then his signal goes out. The only one left that can seal Hajime is Kenzaki.
Hey there guys, Masked Rider Blue, talking about Kamen Rider Blade. Kamen Rider Blade is one of the more interesting Kamen Rider series, mainly for its reputation. There's a lot of infamously bad acting, though if you're not Japanese you won't notice, and there's a lot of terrible lighting issues. And at the same time, the writing and characters are compelling, with the exception of Amane. Heck, when I first discovered Kamen Rider and was looking through all the suits, Kamen Rider Blades was the suit that appealed to me the most. And the soundtrack is amazing, with some of the most hype insert songs ever. It's a weird series. It has a lot of problems, yet I still enjoy it. It's always an enigma that will keep me coming back for more and more and to think about it. It's just so weird. So, if critically, it wouldn't be my top 5, but personally, yeah, it's one of my favorite Kamen Rider series, if only for how strange it is. If you can handle terrible lighting and at times awful acting if you understand Japanese, it's a fun time. While it might be basic to some series of today, it's still a series worth checking out.
On a rainy night, Kenzaki and Hajime begin their battle. Kenzaki wins, sealing Hajime away. Hajime's last words being, Amane-chan. 4 years later, Kotaro becomes a celebrity after finishing his book about the Kamen Riders. Kenzaki is a garbage man. Mutsuki wants to become a salaryman and live a normal life. Hirose is gonna get married soon. Haruka wants everyone to get together for Amane's birthday, though it seems a few of them are too busy. Undead start attacking close by Kenzaki and Kotaro. Then 3 new riders arrive, Lark, Lance, and Glaive. Their suits are pretty cool, a lot sleeker than the previous riders, which is the point. Kenzaki doesn't have his buckle anymore, so the new riders fight off the undead themselves. Meanwhile, an older Amane has become a delinquent, stealing makeup from the mall. Oh look, she dropped the gashapons. Kenzaki, Kotaro, and Mutsuki have been following the leader of the new riders, named Junichi. He introduces them to his new chief, Tachibana. He explains that there was still one other Joker left. Now they're looking for it. The riders get their cards back and are able to transform again. Two of the new riders die from an unknown assailant. Kotaro tells Hirose about what's happening. During her wedding? That's kind of bad timing, Kotaro. Hirose figures out who the killer could be, so the two rush to stop them. Kotaro hurriedly buys milk. Milky boy. Hey, what? It turns out that Junichi is the White Joker. Mutsuki unseals Hajime to help fight with him. After a cool fight between both Jokers, Junichi uses the 4 king cards to become a big flying CGI monster. Hajime wants to sacrifice himself, but Kenzaki wants to do it instead. He T-poses to assert his dominance, then Hajime does better by T-pushing his way to save the world. Or something. So Kenzaki goes into king form and the day is saved. Amane's birthday is celebrated and we have a cute scene of her imagining Hajime being with her. You probably noticed with the fast pacing that this is actually the movie, Blade Missing Ace. It's fine enough, though you'll enjoy it way more if you watch the season. After all, it's an alternate ending. I need to stop here before we continue. You may or may not have noticed, but I've been giving more of my thoughts throughout the video because I actually wanted to make the review speak for itself rather than give a final analysis. I know a lot of you watch these more for the summary, so as a personal final thought, I think Kamen Rider Blade is okay. Mostly okay. Nostalgia plays a huge part for reasoning and why a season can be your favorite. I keep that in mind while also watching the season purely for enjoyment outside of analyzing every little thing. I didn't bring up Hirose and Kotaro very much, because they're as supportive as a support cast can be. They help when needed, have character that don't make me forget them, and I kinda wish one of them became a writer. Those who watched the season pointed out that Amane can get annoying and even mean-spirited. Yeah, that's pretty much true. She only cares for Hajime and acts very rude towards those that aren't Hajime. Kids are kids and all, though there's a point that she comes off as creepy? Insane? Well, she somewhat gets better. Much like a certain form we'll see in a later season, there's been some conflict between who's the secondary writer of Blade, Garen or Chalice. While it can be fun to argue, I don't really think it matters in the end. Unlike the argument about the form, there isn't really an official word of God from Toei, as Garen and Chalice have both been seen in secondary writer positions in games, cards, and official art. Though if you really want to know what I think, I'd say it's Tachibana. He just has the secondary writer qualities to me even if Hajime gets more focus. Of course, it's my silly opinion since I said that it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Tachibana himself is pretty awesome. So cool and usually one step ahead. His arc in the beginning helped establish a character that stayed to the end. Oh wait, and while writing the script I actually forgot about Mutsuki. I know this is kind of weird, but anyway. Mitsuki's a dork. Even while being controlled by the spider undead, he's still a dork and I love him for that. Mutsuki did nothing wrong. Hajime, well, this is only the beginning of the end. For the first time, I want to issue a huge spoiler warning. This is one ending that I want you to experience. Whether you watch the show entirely or listen to the video up to this point, I highly recommend you watch the final scene. Even if you know what's coming, it's still better to watch it yourself. Trust me when I say that me talking about Blade's ending will not do it justice. I, along with many others, consider this ending to be one of the very best in Kamen Rider. If you still want to continue, then let's see Kenzaki's and Hajime's final fight for the fate of the world. Episode 49. The Eternal Trump. Kenzaki has been in his king form to fight off dark roaches. He saves a civilian who happens to be Chief Karasuma, and Tachibana is here to help. He was saved by Karasuma somehow? Okay then. Also, Mutsuki is in the hospital. Tachibana wants to fight with Kenzaki, but now Kenzaki must fight alone. Kenzaki and Hajime meet at the same cabin where Kenzaki saved Hajime some time ago. Now they must fight. Hajime is holding back. He wants to be sealed, but his instinct only wants him to fight. The Dark Roach horde is only getting bigger. They're invading the hospital that Mutsuki is in. Tachibana can't help Kenzaki with all the dark roaches surrounding him, and Kotaro's house is being attacked. Kenzaki continues fighting, then he feels something going through his body. The dark roaches disappear. Hirose checks the undead tracker, only to see 2 Joker signals. Kenzaki pulls the lever on his belt to transform back. Then he drips green blood. Mutsuki couldn't summon more undead, so Kenzaki has become an undead to force the battle fight to continue. However, Kenzaki says that he will not fight. He wants Hajime to live a normal life, while Kenzaki goes far away where he will never see Hajime again. There will be no winner if they don't fight. They can't fight if they never see each other again. Kenzaki Kazuma walks off for the last time. Back to normal life, no one knows where Kenzaki has gone. No one has seen or heard from him. Sometime later, Hajime is out on a walk. He sees Kenzaki on a bench. They greet each other, but it was just in Hajime's imagination. The last thing we see are motorcycle tracks going off into the unknown. Thank you, TV Nihon, and a big thank you to Excite Subs for subbing this amazing series. Back in Ryuki, I made up the journey to ending rule. One should balance out the other. If the journey is fantastic and the ending is bad, then I'd enjoy my time with it. If the ending was out of the world but the journey is mediocre, I'd still feel like my time wasn't wasted. Blade's story, or journey, isn't bad, but it isn't all that great either. There was a lot of pacing issues, mostly seen in his first half. The second half really picked up with characters, acting, and events, so the journey was worth sitting through for me. Binge watching it in the modern day rather than have a weekly release helped Blade in its favor. The build up to the endgame really felt like a final decision to save the world. I'd say even more so than a lot of other seasons. Kenzaki and friends were told about the different outcomes to stopping or letting Hajime go. Kenzaki's final decision changed him to me. I don't think he's bland. He may have the generic hero traits, but they're good traits that make him stand out from his friends. If you don't think he's bland, then it should be more surprising that a generic character would sacrifice his life for Hajime. I also didn't want to bring this up, but yes, Kenzaki was in a porn. And speaking of Hajime, he had inner struggles throughout the entire season. He wants to be human, but his natural instinct as an undead stops him from feeling anything else. His smile after becoming Wild Chalice was enough growth for him. All this for 2 friends to fight to the end. An undead can't die, so think about it. Kenzaki banishes himself to the ends of the earth. He will live forever. He will experience the death of his friends. He will see wars that we can only imagine can happen. Kenzaki has left his entire life behind. If he ever sees Hajime again, then they will be forced to fight. And if one is left standing, then Kenzaki's sacrifice will be for nothing. Death can be seen as a final point in our lives, but for Kenzaki and Hajime, they'll never have that final point. Hajime will go through the same experience as Kenzaki, but what then? Hajime is different. After everyone he loves passes away, will Hajime go insane and want to fight? After a certain future season, I didn't want to look deep into what's shown at face value. However, the face value here is what I said about Kenzaki and Hajime. I have never cried for a movie or TV show before, but I felt tears as Hajime imagines Kenzaki saying hi to him on a bench. This is why Kamen Rider Blade's ending is one of the greatest endings to me. If you watched the video to this point, then I hope you watched the season. If not for the ending, then for the life of a man who just wanted to protect others, especially his friends. Have a nice life, Hajime. Kenzaki did it for you. With all that being said, to us, there are heroes, as we'll see in Kamen Rider Hibiki.